Hi, everyone. I'm Gwen Callahan, the co-director of HP Lovecraft Film Festival. And I am so excited that I am joined live in the car. It's like carpool Q&A today with the crew from St. Drogo. So their production company is Monster Makeup LLC. And we have, starting in the driver's seat, Ryan Biller. In the passenger seat, Brandon Perez Sanchez. Right behind him, Dwayne Gonsalves. And with the big, beautiful beard in the back is Michael J. Ahern. So these are the madmen behind the bonkers and awesome Saint Drogo. That was last night, and because of the time difference and everything, we decided to do the live Q&A this morning. So thank you so much for joining us. You guys are driving home or somewhere, driving towards something or away from something.
we, we just spent the weekend doing a little mini theater tour. We had a couple of awesome locations, one in Lancaster and one in Baltimore, excuse me, that showed our movie. And so we got to meet people there and do a little Q&As and everything. And then we're doing it, excuse me, a trip back home now, finally. So.
Oh, cool.
Like 7-hour drive, so we had to hit the road.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys participating and putting me on your dashboard so I can talk to you. So
we appreciate having to the festival. Yeah.
So with Saint Drogo, right off the bat, the main protagonist has a dream about an ex-boyfriend and opens with kind of that dream of him being like sacrificed horribly on the beach. And as it progresses, you start seeing these parallels between the story and The Shadow over Innsmouth in terms of the deserted seaside town and the residents being a little off, and then the questing protagonist kind of falling, the questing protagonist's boyfriend falling prey to the cult-like denizens of the off-season of Provincetown. So there's a lot of parallels between Shadow over Innsmouth, but then there's this wonderful folk horror element to it that's sort of akin to, I guess, Wicker Man. Hopefully that's what you were going for. And then there's even like a resident Zadok Allen with the antiques guy in the town. So when you were writing this film, were those things kind of in your mind, or were those just kind of things that naturally occurred because Lovecraft has so thoroughly pervaded the collective conscious?
I don't think we were writing it, but kind of just came natural to us too. But as we started like filming and putting it together, we definitely saw like the parallels to something like Wicker Man and stuff. And we're huge fans of folk horror too, so it was the comparisons are great. We love all those films like Dead and Buried and The Side of Evil and things like that are always we're compared to those a lot too. But
yeah, I think like when we're writing, it's weird. It's like I think you are like influenced by what you're intaking as you're writing, even if you're not consciously being like, I'm gonna write a gay Wicker Man, you know what I mean? So like I remember like distinctly watching like 1970s movies. We started writing Saint Drogo in the pandemic in 2020, and so all we had was time, and so I think I started consuming a lot more like 1970s horror movies. And I think it just like naturally influenced sort of what we were working on.
At the end of the day, too, a lot of these stories are kind of based on like mythology and folklore. And I think those just automatically kind of have that kind of layout, like a cautionary tale. So they kind of like play themselves up with that kind of format. Anyways.
Yeah, and I think also going off of what Mike was saying about sort of like these. Maybe it's living in your subconscious or influencing you or whatever. It's funny because I hadn't seen Wicker Man in a very long time. And I rewatched it after having finished Saint Drogo, and one of the things that I noticed, like visually, like a motif that they kept coming back to that I hadn't even remembered was like the sun. So you see like the sun in the sky, like this big circle, which pops up like several times throughout the film. And then like in our film, we also go back, like we start out with the sun. Towards the end, there's the sun, and it's a very similar sort of image. But it wasn't something that I was thinking like when editing it and we're shooting it, like, oh, we're going to try to, parallel what the Wicker Man was doing. But I think, when you have, like Brenda was saying, like movies about the seasonal nature of thing or the cyclical nature of things or like just nature itself, you're going to find some of those similarities that naturally come up. So
Okay. For sure. I think definitely with folk horror, there are a lot of like very iconic sort of universal motifs through those, like the harvest and the sun cycle and like the cycles of nature and things like that. So it's not really a surprise that a lot of folk horror kind of keys in on some of those similar elements. And with Saint Drogo, though, can you? I guess I'm interested in hearing like kind of where the story started. Like where did that come from? Where was the kernel of that? Did it start with like the dream about the axe, or like how did that get started?
You mean like about the actual entity, like why we chose San Drogo?
just the story in
That
general.
and also the story, but both. I would love to hear about both.
Yeah. Do you want to start?
Yeah. So we're all based in New England, in Providence, Rhode Island, like you said, and I really wanted to explore Provincetown, Massachusetts in the off season because it was such a stark contrast to what I had known it as in the summer, and it's like a bustling, like sort of mostly queer like resort town. But in the winter, it turned into like a ghost town, and it was quite depressing. And there was a lot of issues that come with that sort of vacation towns that like get left behind in the off season. And so I kind of wanted to. I mentioned it to the boys, and I was just like, I just want to explore this setting. I think there's a story here. And then Brandon kind of took the setting and came up with an outline. And he can speak a little more to that. But yeah, that's where it sort of that kernel. The setting was something that I really wanted to explore. That we went from there.
Yeah, so for the Saint Drogo story, we wanted to make some kind of monster or have a monster in the film. We wanted to kind of go with something that really has never been done before. So we decided to look into the mythology and folklore of saints themselves. So all have like very bizarre folklores as well. Like, so we decided to choose like a saint to make the story about as like the creature or kind of the tool being used by the cult. So Saint Drogo himself is the saint of mentally ill, disfigured people, herd animals, outcasts. So we figured he'd be kind of a perfect saint for this, because like how a lot of queer people feel like they are outcasted, and on the brink. So brings of society, like why P-Town is way at the end of the Cape and that little tip of Massachusetts, like all by itself. So we decided to do them, and some of the lucky bonuses that came with him. And he's a saint, so in his mythology, he had a weird like hernia growth on the side of his body, and in our story, we turn that into the teratoma that you see at the end. We have like the Eucharist allegory, where instead of having flesh of Christ, it's a tooth of this creature. Originally, we had the saint take the teeth out of their mouth, but after centuries of doing that, you're not gonna have any teeth left. So we decided to have like a teratoma that perpetually creates teeth. So added fun. And the saint himself can bilocate. It's also in his mythology, so that's why he's able to like appear in dreams and kind of show up in different points of the film.
Yeah. There's little tidbits in there that sometimes you might pick up on once you kind of know the background of Saint Drogo, but we decided to just throw them in there without too much overt explanation.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we love the idea of this like sort of a corruption of a Catholic figure, but in service of like the very people that the church has traditionally like shunned and hated. And then the teratoma, like the teeth thing, is just that whole like, I love that Eucharistic thing, and that it's just so gross and beautiful. Who is the person in the Saint Drogo makeup? Because their physical performance was amazing.
Yeah, our friend Devin. So he actually scored a good chunk of Death Drop work. He's amazing too. He's movies, nothing big, like kind of like crazy like B-movie horror movie stuff. He's great. He plays a bunch of bands. He's in a band currently called Bricks and Mortar. And they just made a really cool music video too with some kind of Lovecraftian elements to it as well. But he's a really great guy. He's going to be in our next film that we're making too. He's one of the main characters, but out of the makeup, so you get to see what he looks like. But he's an awesome dude.
Yeah, it was really tough because we we committed to filming in the winter, so Devin had to be in this like insane makeup, but also like practically naked on a beach in December. So it's really great that he let us do that.
Yeah. I know we had blankets and everything that we would wrap around people in between shoots, and so we would like try to warm them up and then be like, all right, we have like 2 minutes, like let's make it work, and then pull it off and then try to get the shot. And yeah, so it was a fun process.
Oh my God. Who did the monster makeup, the concept and the actual like fabrication of like the whole the nose and the bloodshot eyes? It was so great. It really felt like a creature that had been around for centuries.
Yeah. So that was Joe Castro. He's a big effects artist from Los Angeles. He's been doing it since like the 80s. He's fantastic. We kind of gave him like a brief description of what we wanted the St. Drogo to look like, and we wanted to look centuries old, like weather torn, a human that's been on the beach for this long, like just like kind of leathery skin and stuff. He took it and created that, and we were pretty blown away by it. There's a drag queen in Providence named Ava, and she created like the headpiece that the saint wears as well. So she did a great job. But yeah, Joe Castro did like the teratoma, all the makeup on Drogo, did the gutting scene on the beach, the decapitation. He's quite talented.
And then Scott Miller is another special effects artist who worked with us that did a couple of things in the film as well. So like the character Eric, when Brandon looks at him and sees like this like half thing teratoma covering his face, that was done by Scott Miller. And then I think the Isaac's body on the beach,
yep.
Where he's laying in the grass and he finds him, that was done by him as well. Yeah.
Mm. Nice. The practical effects in this movie are amazing. They're so well done and like so perfect balance of beautiful craftsmanship and just like gross.
Thank you.
Good. I'm glad you felt that way.
One of our judges, when we were reviewing all the films, commented that a lot of Lovecraft fans are going to hate this because of all of the gay sex, and now like Saint Drogo is my favorite and I want to be best friends with them.
That's awesome.
With Saint Drogo. So I would love to talk a little bit about I mean, this is a queer horror movie, but it's sort of universal because I think we can all relate to, your partner having a hang up on your ex and then like going with them to try to find out what happened to them is a little unbalanced in terms of a relationship, but I think we can all relate about like what things we put up with our partners because we love them. So I'm curious about if you've had issues or pushback from people on that aspect of it being a queer story, and also if you've had issues with I guess what people would conceive of or perceive as a lot of gay sex, which we see some stuff, but I was thinking about it and like I don't really remember seeing anyone full frontal. I feel like there's this just suggestion that we've seen it and our mind fills in the rest of it.
Yeah, we didn't like, it was important for us that the sex scene did like advance the plot in some way, and it's and the way we're talking about sex, at least through our experience, is that a lot of gay men seek personal validation from it, and it can be very unhealthy. And so the scene was more about the way in which like Caleb and Adrian are growing apart and how, you know what I mean? It was supposed to like forward the plot, and it's not just there just to be salacious or like shocking, you know? And so I think we kind of made a decision that like, yeah, no, we don't need like full frontal nudity because that's not what it's about. What it's about is like these two people and their relationship deteriorating. So that was important to us.
And we haven't really gotten any pushback yet. It is coming though; it's inevitable. think like our it's a wonderful knife just popped up on Shutter, and Michael Kennedy, the director, has been sharing some of the reviews, and it's like quit pushing the queer agenda, 1 star. So I mean, like I think any queer movie like it's just the typical like knee jerk reaction that I wish I knew what the agenda was aside just from like you're just born gay. I don't know, like if you want to join the club, cool. I don't give a fuck if you do or don't. So I hope that we're not going to get any pushback, but it's kind of inevitable. I think at this point, I think everyone needs to settle down and let people be.
And I mean, sometimes you get, we'll occasionally get like low ratings that nothing is said, and so I'm sure there's probably a handful of those that people just like the gay aspect of it wasn't for them, and like whatever, but yeah, I mean, we haven't had to like contend too much with that yet, but we're just starting to get it out there, and we'll see once it gets to the masses.
We had a little bit of death drop. It was kind of funny. So like early on when Dread Central did an article about us, someone in the comments was like, "Let me guess, the bad guy is a conservative policeman." And then Mike responded, "No, it's actually a drag queen." So yeah, it's coming.
So yeah, I mean, like if you really look at it and you're paying attention, it's really just an R-rated sex scene like any other R-rated movie. But I think mainstream audience isn't used to seeing that in a queer context. And also seeing the characters just so naked and vulnerable, which is like the metaphor for what's trying to happen with the relationship. So when Brian introduced it to our audience in Portland, he gave a little bit of a warning, like, hey, you guys, you're gonna see some like gay sex, and there's some violence and stuff like that. So some hot gay dudes railing each other. He didn't say that. Oh, he kind of said that. But a couple people did kind of, I think, decide like, well, maybe this isn't for me, and did walk out, but not like just a couple. And it was really, he was really more referencing the scene at the end where there's like the ritual orgy, and we're wondering how to approach that, because like for us, like or for me, like it seemed like there was a lot of male gaze, but at other males, which was interesting for me because I'm used to the camera lovingly panning over someone's boobs or their abdomen or their mouth or something, as being a woman. So I'm curious how you approached that shoot, and if it was that scene hard to shoot? Was it a complex scene to shoot?
It wasn't. It was just a very long day that day. Like it wasn't. I mean, complex, I guess, because there was a lot of staging, and we went into this huge estate that was like letting folks shoot in there for a small fee, actually, and so it's just we had to like stage it and figure it out and make sure it worked. But it was difficult in the sense that it was long, but I feel like it wasn't. I feel like we've had harder days. Yeah.
More like choreography, actually.
Yeah, choreography is definitely true.
Yeah. But getting folks, like, we have a really good community here in Providence, and since Death Drop, they've really supported us. And so when we put the call out, we were very specific. We were like, we need folks, and you're going to be a part of a ritualistic orgy. So if you're not comfortable, we get it. Like, don't worry about it. You don't have to come. But if you're down, or if you need to keep anonymous, but you're still down, like, please come. And so I think that, I don't know, we weren't suffering in that front, really. We had the bodies. We just it was just a very long day that day.
Nice. And that scene is so great, like capes and sex. Like what how can you go? I'm curious if you have favorite scenes in the film, like scenes that you just feel like we nailed it. This is great. It's perfect. It's exactly what I wanted.
For me, personally, my favorite scene in the movie is when Caleb's going after Myra and the antique shop guy on the beach. That really like gross atonal sound comes on. The moon is all red. I just love that scene. It's just like creepy and weird. Really dreamy and surreal. So that's my favorite scene in the movie.
I think my favorite, for me, my favorite is the sort of low point argument in the graveyard with that really golden light. it was so cold that day. It was like 30 degrees, and Brandon had just found that location like that day, and we like rushed over there to get that like sort of golden hour light, and we were all freezing. We had just filmed something else too, so we had been outside for a little bit then, and there was just something about, I think, that sort of coldness and also the length of the day that like just really added to the tension of it all. And then like watching it back is just, I'm really proud of Brandon and I think like it's a really like tough scene to watch for people. Like there's like some levity throughout the movie and people like, and there's supposed to be, and people laugh. And I think that scene like makes people really uncomfortable because it's pretty cutting, and the only way like your partner would be able to cut you down, you know? So I really like that scene. And I also just love that scene because when I'm watching like in an audience with people, I'm like, after this scene, shit's gonna get crazy, you know? And then so it's just funny to know that like this is the low point, and then everything from now on is just gonna be wild. So yeah, that's like my favorite part. I get really excited when it comes up.
I think
Go ahead.
the scenes with the in bed together, I think for some reason there's something about that separation between them, and then that stark blue color. It's just visually stunning to me.
Thank you.
I think my favorite scene probably is walking through when Brandon first arrives to the mansion, when his character gets there, and they go, and all of a sudden it's just like goes from like empty and nothing to this party full of like people, and you know, it's very like the way in which like all eyes are on him and everybody's staring at him, and it, you know, he feels very uncomfortable and then gets, you know, poisoned by the tea. That whole like sort of environment and the sort of like mystery around that and the tension that starts building there, as he's like going around the mansion and seeing all of these weird things. I think that's probably my favorite.
Nice. Dwayne, do you have a favorite scene?
Oh, he said the bedroom scenes where like they're sort of like sleeping.
Oh, must
Like,
have frozen.
They must have froze.
Oh, yeah. Oh, do it again. Yeah, I think it froze.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I totally missed it. Sorry.
It's the like the bedroom scenes where there's like that separation between the two of them in bed together, but then it's just kind of this cold blue lighting. There's just something about the scene that I think is just visually stunning. It just kind of shows the distance growing between their relationship, between the two characters and their relationship.
Nice. Some of the filming in the movie is just gorgeous. Like the sweeping vistas of the beach, like that cold, you can tell it's cold, and then you've got these waves rolling in, and it's very evocative of like an M.R. James story or ghost story. You guys familiar with M.R. James? Are you fans?
Oh, no, sure. Yes, I would.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know if I've read one.
So check it out
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
Check it out.
No,
He's
love
kind of the Britain's like classic ghost story writer, Montague Rhodes James, and he wrote things like The Signalman and he didn't write The Signalman. No, sorry. Okay, Brian's like, no, you're wrong. Whistle and I'll Come to You, My Lad. That was M.R. James. He's got a guy who goes to a hotel, and there's like a room that he's in, but then like later when he goes back, that room didn't exist. So things like that, they're uncanny ghost stories. So it really gives that sort of sensation that like I am alone in the universe when you're standing on that beach. So I'm wondering how much other of the settings sort of inform the story for you guys. Like did you pick locations because of convenience and availability? I mean, I know that there's a sort of a balance when you're making a film, but I'm just curious if there were certain scenes that you needed to be filmed in a certain location.
Yeah, I think like what Mike was saying earlier about like just the stark contrast between like summer and winter in P-Town. Like P-Town is like so far off by itself, at the very tip of the East Coast, and it is very isolating out there too. So we definitely wanted to have that be a character in the film as well. Like you're just kind of trapped there. Your car's not working, and like now you're here in this weird little town. There's barely anybody there. The people that are there, you've already had kind of like ominous encounters with. So it is kind of claustrophobic, and you're trapped. So we would definitely want to make that like come through the film. And the national shoreline is gorgeous too. And in the wintertime, everything is gray. Like the water is gray, the sky is gray. It just looks like you're in this giant, like, just weird gray, like, I don't know. It's kind of creepy and weird. That's isolating in itself too. It's like you can't tell where the sky and the water like they meet and it all kind of looks the same color. So it's like this void. So we kind of want to make that, yeah.
Yeah. And with like, because we were like, excuse me, micro budget filmmaking, like you said, a lot of it is convenience. But this time we really wanted to take our time with like trying to find the right spots for things. Like having learned from Death Drop, like a lot of the settings in Death Drop were like called in favors and stuff. And so was St. Drogo, like, don't get me wrong. But we like scouted stuff like months ahead of time, and then we're like, oh, this would be really good for this particular scene. And so we tried to really just find the right spot. Like the beach at the end of the movie, during the sacrifice, our friend, we were like trying to find the perfect beach for it for like months and months. We went all around Rhode Island. We went like to different beaches in Massachusetts, and nothing was really like working. And then our friend Courtney was just like, "Oh, you should check out Long Nook Beach." And it's like this beach at the end of a very long, windy, like secluded road, and it has this that very deep cliff of a dune. And we were just like, "Oh, this has to be like the spot. Like it has to be here." So yeah, some of it's convenient, some of it's like friends telling us, but then we were trying to be very intentional, making sure that it looked the best it could. Knowing the themes and stuff of the script.
We also lucked out with it being winter, the fact that like no one's there or it's a lot fewer people, and especially a place like that, which is actually like not in downtown P-Town, but like that beach is like in a small town, Truro, that's before P-Town, and so it just has less traffic, and especially in the winter, and you get these like nice, beautiful shots of like this long, expansive beach that just feels huge with no one there. So it's like perfect because we didn't have like police detail or anything to try to like stop people from coming down to the beach. So we just had to like cross our fingers and hope that like there wasn't anybody running around. So yeah, it's little things like that definitely worked in our favor.
I was gonna ask if you had to obtain permits for filming, or did you just kind of like stealth do your shots?
Well, yeah, it's funny. So we tried in places like the sea, like the shoreline. We did. I sent in applications and everything. Was in contact with people, and because that was one that I was like, we're gonna have to be here for a few days, long days. There's gonna be like fake, gore and like all this stuff, and we just didn't want there to be an issue. But I'd sent him all the applications and everything, and then like all of a sudden ghosted, never heard back. Contacted them again, nothing. I sent like 3 follow-up emails like, hey, like really need to know, nothing. So then we just sort of did it guerrilla style, like when the time came, because I was like, I mean, we don't have an option.
Shoot first, ask questions later.
But you tried really hard to get the permissions you needed. It was so I guess that's on them. We'll just say that's on them.
I agree. I totally agree.
Totally. And it's not, I mean, sometimes it's not uncommon that people do that. You just have to do it sometimes.
There's that fear of them saying no too. So we're part of us like, let's just do it. They probably wouldn't even know. But then like, it's fun.
What was also funny, what was also funny is the first winter we started filming in Provincetown was the same winter that Ryan Murphy started filming his season of American Horror Story. So all the townies just thought that's who we were. Even though there's only like 4 and 5 of us, not like a big crew at all, they just assumed that's who we were. So they kind of just left us alone, and they like didn't ask questions or weren't like, I don't know. It was like very silly. It kind of worked to our advantage. Even though there's, like I said, there's like a crew of 5, and I'm sure like Ryan Murphy's crew is like 20 deep at least.
People don't know. That's awesome.
No, they don't.
And did you run into any situations where like there were passerbys or just like, what's going on here?
We had this weird curse of like we would go to the most desolate places to film. Like we did some audio recording. We have a thing called the Rhode Island Desert, and it's just this big, expansive, sandy piece of land. And like we were trying to do some audio recording there, and a helicopter decided to land there while we were doing this. We were filming the decapitation scene. Like this, it's like this freezing cold day. It was awful. It was like a sandstorm in the parking lot of the beach. We're trying to do the decapitation in the parking lot. Saint Drogo was there in his makeup, and like this family, these four people come out of the freaking dunes out of nowhere. They start asking a bunch of questions. They start like trying to like get in there with us, so like touching the makeup, and just it was just so irritating. And I thought Joe Castro was gonna uppercut this woman, so it was yeah, there was no one there except for all of us. I'm like, why the one day we're doing this is just
And we're on when you shoot in the winter, you're very low on daylight, and so
Yeah.
you're multiple things to do, effects to you have to execute, and then you like only have like 2 hours to do it. So we were like in a hurry, and then people like stopping and asking us
Yeah.
all these like just like random questions. It was like, all right, like
and those
please
prop
step away.
the props are a one and done. You want to get that shot right the first time or you're in big trouble. So and the props themselves took like four people to operate. It's really, really stressful. They have these people asking like, oh, can you just cut the head off again? Like while you're trying to film and do this. It's like, who are you people? Get out of here. Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We have done some, well, I wouldn't say it's guerrilla filming because we were on public property, but filming at a beach in the summers, it can be challenging, but we
Oh
actually
yeah.
had pretty good luck. No one just came up while we were
Oh.
filming questions.
Would you guys film on the beach?
Oh, we run a Kickstarter campaign every year to help fund the festival, and it's a
Nice.
different theme every year. This year was Arkham World's Fair, so we happened to
Nice.
be in Santa Cruz on the Santa Cruz boardwalk after San Diego Comic-Con. So we tried filming like at one of the entrances, but we got shooed away by security. But then we just went on the beach. So we were standing in the sand with our camera on its tripod, like over there, making me very nervous because like someone could just run by, pick it up, and like I wouldn't be able to chase them down. And I am like, my knees wouldn't be able to do that. So we're trying these takes and filmed on the beach and everything. But you can see the video if you go to our Kickstarter campaign.
Nice.
It's there.
That's fun.
But yeah, it seems like there's always little hurdles to overcome in filming these things when you don't have like a big crew and like a big production. So we
Oh,
really
definitely.
appreciate how hard you guys work on these things and like how good it looks at the
Thank you.
end.
Well, thank you very much.
so much. We appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, it's funny, the little things like sometimes take the longest, like with because you can't just like block everything off. I mean, there were times where we needed simple shots in like downtown Provincetown, on Commercial Street, and we wanted it to be like desolate and empty, and like they were the only ones around to give it that eerie feel. But then it's like all we need is like Brandon walking down the street, and we'd be like, all right, we're clear, ready. And then like screaming, and we're like, oh my God, we just need like 20 seconds. And we'd have to go back and like it'd take like 2 hours just to get this like one shot where like no one's around, So
And it's tough because it was during COVID too, so it was just a handful of us. It was like everyone in this car, like maybe two more people. So to try to like keep the streets clear, like get people out there, we just didn't have the people to do it. Like we originally had other people read for our roles, but like just out of convenience and out of like cost, we just had to do it ourselves. Which ended up working out well because it would have delayed the project if we had like the people doing it. So it worked out well. So we have a third script we wrote at the same time as Saint Drogo that we're it's grander scale, and we definitely could not do that during COVID. So we're looking forward to now having two movies out there on the table to maybe get some like funders or work on this third one.
I missed some of that because I heard most of it, but did you work on two films at the same time, or are you working on a second film?
Oh, we wrote two scripts at the same time. So Drogo was one of them. So we ended up making Saint Drogo. And the third one, we just could not have done that during COVID. It involves a lot of people. So we were hoping to have two movies on the table to show investors that we're serious, and then get because this third one's gonna need a bigger budget. There's a Lovecraftian monster in that one too, so that you guys might like that one. But yeah. So we're hoping we're gonna be filming that within the next few months, or starting on it in the next few months, and then kind of going from there. But yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you can tell us about that project that's upcoming?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's called Queen of the Rats. Like Brandon said, we wrote it in COVID around the same time as Saint Drogo, and it's about I don't know how familiar you are with like Providence history, but there was like a time in Providence in the late 90s, early 2000s where there was like a thriving warehouse art scene, And so all those abandoned mills and warehouses that were in Providence were like sort of occupied by artists, musicians, performers, and they would live there, and they would also run like essentially like illegal shows, like illegal venue shows. And so it's about a noise rock band in Providence, and they unfortunately come head to head with the mafia, which also historically has been a big presence in Providence. And then there's also a Lovecraftian monster thrown into that mix. So it's sort of like, this sounds crazy, but it's like Green Room meets like Little Shop of Horrors meets The Sopranos, and then just like cosmic horror all thrown through in there. And it's a beautiful cauldron of insanity, but we're really excited to shoot it.
Well, that sounds fantastic. I will keep an eye out for that. And we should probably wrap up, but for anyone who's interested in following that project and your other future projects, where should they find you on the internet? Where should they follow you on social media?
So the Monster Makeup is on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky,
Twitter,
all of them.
Facebook,
TikTok.
yeah.
So Monster Makeup LLC. It's I think that's the thing. Our personal ones are all connected in there too. So if you go to like either in the Death Drop, gorgeous social media profiles, or say DROGO, you'll find all of us too. If anyone has any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to us too.
Okay.
Yeah, we always want to like when we were starting Death Drop, we had so many. We didn't know what we were necessarily doing entirely, and we had so many questions. And like we also want to help other like aspiring filmmakers, especially like those that are like micro budgeting or like fundraising like we do. And so like we also want to be a source for those folks. So if like people see Saint Drogo or Death Drop and want to reach out, like don't hesitate to DM us with questions and stuff. We want to see more independent like micro budget art out there. So yeah, don't hesitate.
Thank you so much. This was Saint Drogo is a beautiful movie. There's so many layers in there with the, the outsiders being even further outsidered in this desolate town of Provincetown. The interpersonal strife, and then just like them dealing with the horror of the situation. It's just really, really a rich tapestry of horrors for us to enjoy. And every time I've watched, I see something new in it. So people watch it again. Is this going to be released or streaming on home media release or anything like that? Do you have news to share about that?
Fortunately, we really do want to get it streaming on something. We don't know what. I have a feeling that we'll probably have physical media before anything at this rate. So we're hoping maybe like March or April we'll have something on Blu-ray. But hopefully before we get on a streaming service. But I'm not sure if that's gonna happen or not.
Okay.
At some point it will.
At some point it will be for sure. Yeah.
But we just don't know exactly when. There's no time frame yet. But yeah, just follow us and post whenever we know more about that.
Okay. So keep an eye on their social medias and their website. You guys, I just have a suggestion. When you do your Blu-ray release, you should make little candy teeth to put in the package.
Oh yeah,
That's a great idea.
that's an awesome idea.
Or like chiclets or something. Anyways, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time, and drive safe and get to
Thank you.
get to where you're going safely. And
Thanks for bearing with us.
Well, thank you for having us too.
in person someday soon.
I would love that.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, bye you guys.
Bye. Bye everybody.
Have a good day. Thanks for watching.